This video is about the DocuSign User Sync solution created by JCMR. This solution addresses the limitation of single sign-on between DocuSign and SharePoint on-premise solution and the DocuSign user service. Before we begin, I'd like to give a quick introduction of who I am, who JCMR is, and what we do as a company. Well, my name is Matthew Marino, and I'm a co-founder of JCMR. I'm an ex-premier field engineer in the SharePoint technologies and development realm, with 10 years experience consulting in SharePoint technologies, 12 years working with SharePoint technologies, and around 12 years front-end and back-end development experience. JCMR is an independent software vendor, business solution provider, consultancy firm, Microsoft CSP partner, and a managed service provider. We provide solutions in all web formats and all frameworks from Node.js to C# and .NET. DocuSign is a wonderful tool to enable digital signatures for your users. Digital signatures have become widely adopted and are utilized by the government, law firms, estate brokers, and many other companies. Its integration with SharePoint on-premise is especially useful by allowing your users to send documents for signature while being able to use all the features of SharePoint like versioning, workflows, and other document features. There are, however, some limitations to the SharePoint solution around single sign-on and user provisioning. We'll go over the current provisioning methods and briefly discuss the limitations. The first method is the DocuSign Auto User Provisioning. The DocuSign SharePoint solution has a feature called Auto Provision for User Accounts. When enabled, the solution auto-creates the user account in DocuSign and sends an activation email to the user. On activation, the user is prompted to enter a password for the account that is normally their corporate email account. After activation, the user is now able to send documents for signature. Where things can go wrong, and by wrong I mean not exactly as planned, is in the account creation. If your DocuSign plan is a user-based, then you naturally would like to control who is able to create a user account. Unless companies have planned for this, then you may end up having more users using DocuSign than intended. If your plan is a per-envelope plan, you may not even monitor the accounts created by the auto user provisioning feature. This can then lead to more envelopes being sent than originally planned for. The other issue is the possibility of the user using their corporate password as a password to their activation. The email used in DocuSign is a corporate email, so there is a risk that the user may use the password of their corporate account to remember the password easily. This naturally produces a security risk because the corporate email and password is now in the DocuSign user database. The other methods provide more control over who is allowed to create an account and send documents for signature. The IT team or an administrator governs the account creation process by either Active Directory permissions or going to the DocuSign admin portal and creating the user. When the user account is created outside the SharePoint solution, the connectivity between the solution and DocuSign service is lost. This means that even though you provision your user beforehand, the SharePoint solution doesn't know about the user. In the end, the activation process is followed by the end user to activate and add the password to the activation form. The new version of the DocuSign SharePoint solution now provides the ability to manually add the user to the DocuSign user list, but it's a manual process and can get tedious when adding more than a few accounts. In light of these limitations, we have developed an automated way of syncing your users into the SharePoint solution. Our solution provides true single sign-on with DocuSign, so all you need to do is provision the user however your process requires. Our solution then communicates with the DocuSign service, finds the users authorized to use DocuSign, and pulls them into the system for you. No activation emails other than the one generated by DocuSign and the user creation process is needed. The user sync job is fully configurable with full and incremental sync jobs defined with the timing you choose. We realize that there will be times when a user needs to have access to the DocuSign application right away. For this, we created a way to sync the user or users to the site collection you want immediately, bearing in mind that the DocuSign solution must be enabled on that site collection. Now I'd like to do a demonstration and show you the configuration location within Central Administration, the job definitions that are applied to the web applications, the DocuSign User Sync host site collection and what it's for, some of the tables within the SQL database that our solution creates, and then proceed to do a user sync. So the configuration location of our solution is under Monitoring, JCMR DocuSign configuration page. And from this page, you do your configuration through a wizard. Now, we have the wizard already completed on this system, so we're not going to redo it, but this is typically where you would find that after first installation. This is also the page where you will get your real-time sync or sync on demand, and then your sync activity logs. The job definitions are in the same area or similar area. It's under monitoring, review job definitions. And within the job definitions, you should see the DocuSign User Full Sync job and the DocuSign Incremental Sync job. Both of these jobs use the same code or do the same thing, except the Full Sync runs weekly, and the Incremental will run daily or hourly, depending on how you configure it. Both of them are fully configurable, though. The host site collection is a site collection that needs to be generated and houses the users where we create the bridge with. So when we communicate with the DocuSign system and pull down the users from the DocuSign system, they are then run through our code, they're placed in here, and then mapped to users within SharePoint. And as you'll see right now, there are no users. The DocuSign test site, which is this site right here, is what we're going to be using to do the user sync for this. And before I go any further, I will show you quickly what the database looks like. So on installation and configuration, a database is created. I've used the default database, but you can name the database anything you want through the configuration wizard. As you will see again, within this, there are no users. And then we have our sync logs. We have the scratch table. So the scratch table is for the incremental. Once you do a full crawl or a full sync and all the users are brought in, then the scratch table is used to determine the differences between the next job that runs on an incremental and what's currently within the database. And then naturally the database users or the database user table here is for all the users within the system. We have our site collections, all the site collections that currently have the DocuSign solution deployed to them and activated. And then we have our sync log. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a quick user sync, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do a full sync since I do not have any users in there. So I'm going to go into my job definitions. I'm going to click on the user sync full job, and I'm going to click on Run Now. We'll know it's running by if we go back into Central Administration, Monitoring, go to the configuration page, and we'll take a look at the sync activity log. This will tell us right now, okay, we're doing a full sync, and we just have to wait a bit until it completes. And when it completes, it'll give you how many users and how many site collections those users were added to. If we then go to our host site collection, we'll see within the host site collection, when we do a refresh, we will see the users that have been pulled in from DocuSign. And the same thing should happen here on our test site for DocuSign. Now this is the DocuSign master list, and this is the list that gets broken when you do any type of user provisioning outside of the DocuSign solution. So if I click on the DocuSign and I click on Settings, I will see within the settings the user provisioning. When this is enabled, that means the DocuSign solution itself, this application, will communicate directly with DocuSign and add the users for you. When you disable this, then that means you're doing your own provisioning, and that's when the bridge gets broken. Now, if we go back and take a look at our database here, if I run this query now on the log, or sorry, on the user table, you will see the user table has been populated. And if I go to the sync log, you will see that there are the two log entries. So this concludes the video for the DocuSign User Sync solution. Our company can be reached at info@jcmr.com or our website at www.jcmr.com. And for support inquiries, there's docusign.jcmr.com or the email docusign@jcmr.com for email inquiries.